Okay, we're recording. And let's just give everybody a chance. Everybody got bounced off here for some reason.
I know it. Great, great.
All right, so I'm going to make you host and you can start back in.
Okay. Do you want
We
me to start?
apologize for everyone for that technical difficulty, but Monica, take it away.
Okay. All right, everyone. Give me 1 sec. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to share my screen in un momento. So let me get this bigger. All right, here we go. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'll share my screen. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, Joseph, for the opportunity to do this, to share my love of feeding children. So here we have Feed Your Children Well. I have been teaching cooking and nutrition for many years, and really it started with the children. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and go down. All right, so as Joseph said, the child, we consider a child to be birth to 19. This is a growth phase, and growth requires building materials. It's a growth phase. It's very, very important. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, so I like to use the analogy of building a house. And so when we build a house, let's say you get the opportunity and the blessing to design and build your own house, and you're going to use the highest quality materials. You're going to use sufficient amounts of those materials, and you're going to use them in a form that they can be used. And so then you can build that house. If you build a house well, it will last a long time. If you build a body well, it will thrive. It will last a long time. And a lot of what Joseph was just talking about, I try to work with people and just think about what are the materials that you're using to build that body? What are the materials that you're using to build that mind, that brain? What are the materials that you're using? Are they high quality? Are there enough of them, or are there deficiencies? Either because they're not getting the materials at all, or the materials they're getting are nutrient deficient, or they are low quality, or they are tainted with toxins, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so the building materials, when we're talking about building a child, building a body, as you all know, we need to think about the frame, which is, and the structure, the bones, the skeleton, the musculature, the brain, and the nervous system, which we know is set down in the first weeks of life. First weeks, that's where it starts. The hormones, the endocrine system, of course, from cells to organ systems. And so, here we go. All right, so this is a really important slide, a really important concept, which is that animal foods are builders and plants are cleansers. And it's really important if you just keep this in mind when you're working with your clients, when you're out there in the world, when you're working with your patients, when you're in your own family, when you're thinking of children, when you have people thinking of building a child, meaning conceiving a child and then building it. We really have to look at animal foods. They're getting really short shrift out there, and plants and veganism is going really, really strong, especially in Colorado. I'm not sure about the rest of the country, but what we need to remember is that animal foods are building blocks and provide building blocks, and that plants cleanse the body. There's a role for both of them, absolutely. And we must include animal foods in order to build the foundation, to build this child, to give it what it needs to build healthy bones, joints that work, digestive systems that work, and brains that work. So animal foods, you see a couple of them here. Meat stock, of course, is on the top. Eggs from chickens, eggs from ducks, eggs from turkeys, eggs from quails. I don't really care where you get the eggs from, as long as they are clean animals, birds on pasture eating bugs, which is what they're supposed to be doing and not in confinement. Then we have beautiful raw milk on the right-hand side, which we will eat cultured, and raw butter, cultured butter, etc. Okay. All right, so building foods, I like to call them foods to thrive by. Again, the builders are animal foods. What are they? Eggs, meat, and poultry. I should have fish on there also. I'll update the slide. Organ meats, especially liver. For folks on this call, in this webinar, we know the B1, B4 complex is so important for the heart. Where is it found? In liver. Cultured raw dairy, very important. I'll go into reasons in a moment. Fermented vegetables, tonics and fruits, healthy fats. You will notice, I'd love to talk more about this with anyone. Grass-fed butter, ghee, tallow, lard, duck and chicken fat, coconut oil. I will put extra virgin olive oil on there also, but you'll notice that these are healthy fats, and they're very important for the lungs, for the brain, for the cell membranes, et cetera, and certainly for the most important cholesterol, which is needed for sex hormones, stress hormones, many, many other things. And properly prepared seeds, nuts, seeds, beans, and grains. They need to be soaked, sprouted, or fermented and served with plenty of healthy fats in order to be utilized. Okay, so these are what I call building foods, foods to build by, foods to thrive by. All right, I just want to go through a couple of things here regarding grains. We are a grain-obsessed nation. Amber waves of grain. Just so everyone knows, most children cannot digest grains until the age of 2. So giving them rice cereal or giving them those nice little wheat biscuits when they start teething is a really bad idea. Children don't produce enough amylase to break down grains. And so a really great thing to do is to wait until all 4 back molars are present. That's the physical sign that that little body may be able to start breaking down grains. All grains, again, this is countercultural, folks. It is very Weston Price, it is very GAPS. All grains must be soaked, sprouted, or fermented prior to cooking. Why? Because those are pre-digestion processes that should happen outside of your body so that you can actually digest them. And, I'll go into Whole Foods or a co-op or, any grocery store, and there are aisles and aisles and aisles of grains and grain foods that have not been prepared in a way that you can actually digest them. Whether you have a fully functioning gut or not, they have to be soaked, sprouted, or fermented in order to actually digest them. Okay, regarding the quality of the materials that you're going to do, all food, so people will say, Monica, you're telling us to eat fat, and fat is where toxins are stored. Yes, that's why we use organic or biodynamic fats or animal fat that comes from those animals. You're telling me, Monica, to eat meat. Yes, I want you to eat meat that is grass-fed and grass-finished, which will avoid GMOs and unnatural feed. Those things change the structure of the fats and the quality of the proteins. So yes, all foods should be organic or biodynamic, homegrown or purchased from farmers directly when possible. There are so many resources right now about where you can find clean local food. If you don't know where, jump on the Weston A. Price Foundation website, westonaprice.org. Look for a local chapter leader. They can connect you with farms that are doing things right and farmers that are doing things right. Dairy should be certified raw milk dairy, and it should be cultured, which will get rid of any problems with digestion. Culturing breaks down lactose, which can cause bloating and cramping, and culturing also breaks down casein, which is also can be a difficult protein for people to, children and adults and everyone else, to digest. So it's really important. I'm not running around saying eat the standard American diet. God forbid, we'll all be sick, and we are. I'm saying, please look for clean food. So important right now. So important for all of us. Okay. Let me see if I can. Okay. So I want to go into gaps just a little bit. Hold on one second. We just did that one. Good. All right. So is this a GAPS child? In your practice, in your families, in your neighborhood, how do we know that someone could really, really benefit from the gut and psychology syndrome diet, which is what I've been teaching for the last, I don't know, 8 or 10 years, maybe 12, because it's so critical. Here are some of the symptoms. Does that child have skin issues? Eczema? I'm getting, there's like, eczema is so out of proportion, out of control right now. So many moms dealing with children with eczema right out of the womb, almost. Eczema, skin rashes of any kind. Do they have a digestive disturbance? Is that child always bloating, cramping? Do they have diarrhea a lot? Do they have constipation? You know, our children should be having bowel movements at a minimum of once a day, or twice a day, or thrice a day. And if they're not having a bowel movement, they are retoxifying. They're, nice new word. They're retoxifying. They are bringing toxins back into the system if they're not having a regular bowel movement. So food allergies, food sensitivities, food intolerances. Do they have any of that going on? That is a GAPS child. That is someone that would benefit from the GAPS diet. Do they have brain function issues? Brain fog. Do you have brain fog? ADD, ADHD, SPD, OCD. I mean, alphabet soup of disorders with brain function these days. Do they have dyslexia? Do they have dyspraxia? Do they have depression? Are they highly anxious? And of course, bipolar and schizophrenia. All of these things, are they having? Are they slow learners? Are they not able to speak? Are they nonverbal? Are they not speaking when they should be? Are they not able to do that yet? And of course, failure to thrive. I work with lots of moms with little ones with failure to thrive. We take them off the standard American diet that's very high carb, very high sugar and bad fats, and we put them on a GAPS diet. So these are some of the things you can look at right away and say, yeah, this child needs the GAPS diet or some portion of it, some part of it. Okay. All right, so you all know the building blocks of nutrition are protein, fats, and carbohydrates. That's what we get. Those are our macronutrients. Everything's going to fit into one of these places. And so again, what do they need? Every child needs protein. They need protein. Massive, major building block here. Meat and poultry, pasture raised, organ meat, as I said prior, especially liver, stocks and broths. I could go on forever about why these things are so important. Very important for bone building, very important for joints, we have all these kids double jointed. unbelievable. They're not getting enough collagen, folks. So stocks and broths, they also can help to kick on the digestive system. Pastured eggs, cultured dairy. What is cultured dairy, you say to me? Yogurt, kefir or kefir, creme fraiche, which is cultured cream, soured raw cream, and nuts and seeds. This is your protein. Healthy fats. There's your list again. Saturated animal fats from healthy animals. Butter, grass-fed from pastured animals. Tallow, that's the fat from lamb, beef, bison, etc. Ghee, clarified butter. Ghee is a wonderful place to start with people who say they can't handle dairy. This is pure animal fat. It's pure butter fat, pure milk fat. It's a great place to start. It's also very calming to the anxious child. Lard, clean pork fat, incredibly good, very high in vitamin D, very good for lung health. Just putting that out there, given all the things that are going on currently. Lard in the diet. Chicken and duck fat, and coconut oil unrefined. Those are your healthy fats. Again, I'll throw extra virgin olive oil on there, raw, unrefined. Here's your carbohydrates. Everyone wants to know, well, what about carbs? Don't we need carbs? Don't children need carbs to thrive? You know, folks, I've got children on the GAPS diet that are doing a no plant GAPS. That means all they're eating is meat and cultured dairy, and they're doing phenomenally well. These are for children that have really severe digestive issues like colitis, ulcerative colitis, IBS, things like that. So here are your carbohydrates. Fermented vegetables, tonics, and fruits. Examples: sauerkraut, kimchi, pickles. Pickles that are fermented. This is not bread and butter pickles in vinegar and sugar. It should say water and salt. Kefir and kvass. These are tonics. Kvass just means tonic. You can make it from beets. You can make it from cabbage. They have specific things they can do for the digestive system. Kefir or kefir, milk kefir specifically, and water kefir. That's there, made out of fruit. And properly prepared grains and legumes. Again, soaked, sprouted, or fermented. These are the foods children should be eating. And if they're eating bread, notice I put if they're eating bread, the bread needs to be a traditional sourdough. Why? Because traditional sourdough bread, which is a fermented bread, a long fermented bread, does not have gluten in it. And gluten, as we know, can be very, very problematic for the digestive system, not to mention, the glyphosate that's usually in wheat at this point. So traditional sourdoughing is what you need to do if you want to have your child eat, or your child or yourself eat bread. So just quickly, a few benefits, extra benefits of cultured dairy. So there's Joseph Antel saying to us, what are the 3 words his daughter would say that are most important for children? Calcium, calcium, calcium. Where do we get bioavailable calcium? Besides fabulous calcium lactate, where do we get it in food? We get it from cultured dairy. Cultured raw dairy is best. So it's going to give you calcium. It's really incredible what cultured dairy will give your child in terms of growing those bones and keeping away fevers. Lactic acid in the digestive tract, and it also gives you beneficial microbes for a robust gut flora. And then we could go on and on about what do microbes bring to the digestive process. What do they bring to the immune system or the immune alliance, to your immunity? Just unbelievable, the benefits of cultured dairy. I have one thing I want to share here, which is that a lot of people say, oh, I can't do dairy. Cultured or not, it gives me mucus. And what Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride says to that, the the medical doctor who wrote the GAPS diet and now the gut and physiology diet, is that if you're getting mucus from eating dairy, yay, let us celebrate, because mucus is one of the ways the body moves toxins out of the body. Okay, and certainly out of the lungs and respiratory tract. So over time, you'll be eating cultured dairy and there will not be an issue with mucus if you cleared the toxins out of your body. All right, then I have a quick slide on extra benefits of lacto-fermentation. Here's another thing. What do we need? What do we need right now? What do we need all the time? What do our children need to be well? Vitamin C complex. Where do you get it? The biggest, the highest amount of vitamin C complex that you can get from lacto-ferment would be sauerkraut. Huge amounts of vitamin C. Eat it as part of your life. Give it to your children, and they will get beautiful high amounts of the vitamin C complex, very bioavailable. Lacto-fermentation also creates B vitamins, more of those fabulous B vitamins that we need, very important. Enzymes, they ferments pre-digest carbohydrates, or pardon me, fermentation pre-digests carbohydrates in the food itself. And again, beneficial microbes, lactic acid in the digestive tract, and so many more things. A lot of this is, I go into very much in my book, a lot more detail. All right, so what not to feed children? Empty calories, sugar in all of its forms, white flour, certainly, processed foods. Please, shall we all not give our children processed foods? Hydrogenated and rancid vegetable oils, and GMOs. Yeah, and I have on the bottom, organic food really is necessary at this point, folks. The amount of pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, glyphosate in our food. Glyphosate is one of the chemicals that really loosens up the tight junctions in the gut, so that it's just letting large molecules into the bloodstream that should never, ever be there. So we really want to go organic. You can also grow things yourself. You can find things from co-ops. You can work with neighbors, farmers, etc. Organic is really important at this point, especially in animal foods, and especially with grains and fruit, if you're going to give your child fruit. All right, remember, animal foods are builders. I know there's some nuts and some seeds over there, but we really need to have animal foods for our children in the beginning of their lives. Really critical for them to be well, and just to have what they need to build. You know, let's just start there. All right. Okay, so that's what I've got. I have this here for you. There's my GAPS book, Saline River Press. There's a coupon for you. You will get this slideshow, so you can have that coupon. Yeah, that book is, well, it's an amazing book. I know I wrote it, but it's chock full of lots of detail for you. And everyone can use the techniques in this book, whether you are on GAPS or not. There are ferment techniques, so you can learn to ferment. There are culturing dairy techniques, so you can learn to make your own yogurt. You can learn to make creme fraiche. You can learn to make meat stock. You can learn how to soak, sprout, and ferment your nuts and your seeds, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really a book for everyone, whether you're doing GAPS or not. It's a wonderful technique book for everyone. And I just want to let everyone know that I do have a Facebook Live every Tuesday at 11:30 Mountain Time, where you can come and ask me, the GAPS chef. Dr. Natasha has dubbed me the GAPS chef. That's her with me at a Weston Price Wise Traditions conference a couple of years back. And yeah, so join me, send your clients, send your patients, whoever, if you have questions about GAPS, I'm happy to answer them for you. I'm on Dr. Natasha's teaching team to teach GAPS practitioners and coaches. All right, so you probably don't need all that, but you will get it. You can
Thanks
just
so
see all that.
much. Thanks so much, Monica. And you will
Thank
get these
you.
notes. Yes, you will
Yes,
get the recording and the notes. So
yes.
we will fix the recording, that little space that we had in there, and
Yeah.
you'll get all of this, everyone. So be assured. And anyone that did not get back on, just assure them that they can go onto my YouTube channel and get that. So
Yes.
can you give me the
Yes, I'll give you the reins.
you have to
Yep. Hold on one sec.
stop sharing your screen and tell me what. Okay.
Okay.
I'm the host again.
Yes, you are.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Joseph, for the opportunity.
Oh, anytime. I love having you on. So it is remarkable, isn't it, everyone, how far we have gotten from indigenous foods, of foods that really bless our bodies. And so, you know, feeding our children well and passing this information on is so vital. A lot of people have said to me, because, you know, I'll be 70 next year, early next year, and what are you going to do when you get older, Joe? What and different ones have said to me, well, I don't know what I should do, you know, and I said, well, create a bucket list, you know, a honey-do list, whatever you want to call it, but put on there, learn how to cook and learn how to use foods. So for the rest of this time, and I know we're a little longer because of that little delay, but I am going to record the rest of this, so I understand if everyone can't stay on, of course. So a couple other things I want to go through that are protocols in the book. And one of the things is coughs in children. Now, as I say, all of these products I've given you already, except for one in each of these protocols. So pneumotrophin is the one for any type of dry cough, wet cough, any threat of pneumonia in children. But remember, the partner to the protomorphogen for the lungs is calcium. Just remember that. Now, you could, we could have a debate, not an argument, but a conversation about, well, what about A and C? Yes. And A and C is in conjuplex and is A and C in Catalan. So this simple protocol. Now, if a child has a cough, you can up these dosages and add a third in and even another fourth before bed. But again, because it's in a book form, it needs additional training to use it in acute phases of things. Then, and of course, this is Dr. Lee's view, and you can see that how much Lee valued this product and how much he said for bronchitis, asthma, and cigarette cough, of course. So you will always use pneumotrophin in your practice. That should always be in your basic inventory if you have one in your office or in your home. I always have an extra bottle of pneumotrophin. If you go downstairs to my second office downstairs, always. One of the other wonderful products formulated by Kerry Bone, and I'm sure Lee Carroll, our dear friends, is this product. It is completely safe for children. Now, there's a caution in pregnancy It's a contraindicated. So basically in pregnancy, you don't want to use any herbs. And this would be included in that if the woman is pregnant. But even any child after a year old, you can use this. Now, obviously you'd use smaller dosages. And I did not put this in my book. I probably should have, but I didn't. But this is the other one that Kerry Bone actually formulated this for asthmatic children. That's what he had in mind when he formulated this combination of herbs. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but a lot of breathing issues in adults with asthma and children is their nervous system cannot relax. They are always struggling to find air. They're reaching out for something because they're grieving. Just so you know, more of a spiritual look at it. But any respiratory condition relates to some form of grief. Of course, there could be a viral or a bacterial issue as well, physically. But remember, there is always an emotional component with these that I do teach you as we go through here. And that is why, because some have asked me when they see this formula, why are you using skullcap? It's because not only is it a relaxant, but it has to do with anger and grief. So it's very interesting if you get into how these different herbs, the energy of these plant concentrates. So it's a great product. Diaper rash. So again, you're going to see and of course, if you don't want to use the F tablets with children, children's chewable tuna oil gives you that vitamin F. Remember, if you're working with the skin, you're working with the gut, just as Monica was beautifully describing. And learning about fats. You know, I was just reading before because I always have additional thoughts. Do you know that trans fats or saturated fats actually cause problems in the pancreas? Type 2 diabetes, where people become insulin sensitive, the body's not receiving it, the cells can't receive it, is primarily because of trans and saturated fats. I was just reading that, but I can't put everything in. That's why I said it to you. If you use polyunsaturated fats or normal balanced fats, that dispels that insulin sensitivity. That's how you get rid of it. So there's more to it than that, but I just thought that was interesting. So, but the one product that I wanted to show you, now there's a couple of things for external healing for diaper rash, because that gets very uncomfortable. You want to advise mothers and fathers to get better sleep. A lot of times, number one, it's usually a calcium deficiency or a gut issue. You know, colic in children. If you don't have the gut balance, they are bloated and gassy, and they are going to cry a lot. If you see a child crying a lot, even in its wonderful, the child's wonderful mother's arms or father's arms, it's because they're uncomfortable inside. They're either sore because they don't have enough calcium, or they're bloated and gassy and they have intestinal pains. Here it is. Grind it up. Wet your finger. Have the mother wet their finger and just put it in the baby's mouth, even during breastfeeding. Just put a little in their mouth, and then they can breastfeed. Every time they breastfeed, a little bit of the lactic acid yeast powder. Just grind it up. But to soothe the skin itself, Now, this is for all of you too. If you get any type of burn to your skin or scrapes, or you can use the USF ointment as #1. I'll tell you about that. But the other thing you can do that I've used that is also tremendous is to break a pearl, wheat germ oil pearl, open and put it on. Remember, when you put in Angela Highwood, which she teaches again for MediHerb, she hasn't taught for years, but years ago when she taught us all of this, the way to get vitamin E into a child, if they have skin issues or muscle issues, is just rub it on their belly. The oil gets absorbed and then into the bloodstream. It benefits the whole body, not just that area. Very healing. But USF ointment is a really Dr. Lee's original. This is vitamin F ointment. So what did we learn about vitamin F? That draws calcium from the bloodstream right into the tissue, and calcium is the great healer. Here it is. It can act as a moisturizer. It smells wonderful. It actually has, the fragrance is rose oil, by the way. And I don't know why they don't put that on the label, but I just wanted to go through a little bit of these with you. People say, and Monica talked about this, oh, lard? Who wants to eat lard? Well, let me tell you about lard. Lard is a good source of fats that support a healthy heart. After olive oil, which consists of 70% of monosaturated fatty acids, the good ones, lard has the most monosaturated fats at 48%. These fats help to lower blood cholesterol levels and maintain healthy cells. What kind of cells? Skin cells, nerve cells. So when you see this, make sure you look it up and understand it. Lanolin, of course, has been used for years as a soother. Here is your vitamin F, the flaxseed oil extract. The sunflower lecithin also is very good for skin, and beeswax, which is a very ancient healing remedy for many topical issues. Now, why did Dr. Lee put cow testicle orchic extract in this? Because it is not that. It is the enzyme hyaluronidase that spreads the nerve synapse. It spreads out the neurotransmitters in the nerve synapses. Now, I've taught this to you many times. We have to get this about Orchex, E2, and any orchic extract that's in a product. It is so crucial to understand this. When there's any inflammation or pain issue throughout the body, or congestion of any toxic material in the cells itself, or in the joints itself, anywhere, or mentally and emotionally in the nervous system, in the brain, we get too many neurotransmitters. So those are chemicals that activate these nerve synapses. If you get too many, the nerve synapses overreact. So what this extract, part of this extract does, is it spreads out these neurotransmitters and relaxes the localized tissue. It's brilliant. This is a so underused topical ointment. It's brilliantly put together. Now, diarrhea in children, of course, again, get this powder. It's a wafer, just grind it up, get it into them, put it in yogurt, applesauce, who cares? They won't even, it has no taste. And it has a very smooth, actually a very pleasant texture as well. And then, of course, for diarrhea, we don't have the clay substance anymore. Cholacol 2 was taken off the market. It was taken out of Gastrex. which was very sad. And there are reasons for that I won't go into now. But I found a company out of Austin, Texas, that carries this. And this is a really great product. Now, Lynn, can you come on? Do I have to unmute you or do something? Lynn just talked to this company the other day, and I want to get this on the recording. Where are you, Lynn? Hold on, I'm just scrolling down everybody that's on. Just give me one
She's
sec.
here.
Yeah. Let me I have to unmute her, I think. I think she's on her phone.
Oh, no, Joseph, I got in by.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about this, because I know that not just for children, but adults need this. Any type of food poisoning, diarrhea, heavy metal. It's in my book many, many times. You've got to have this clay, and taken always, it will take a lot of benefit out of your food if you take it with your food. But I want Lynn to teach that story. So go ahead, Lynn.
Well, I connected with the company, and because I know people have been having trouble getting an account with Premier Research Labs. So that I must have intuitively known that there was going to be some problems. So today, you'll see I put the retail price and where it is in Joseph's book, and the recommendation, which is perfect for Joseph, putting it in between meals, 1 capsule, is to open up the capsule and put it in water, so your child should be able to easily drink it. It takes up, covers more area that way. So my encouragement to you when you connect with the company is to, it's open to all practitioners as long as you're licensed, and to set up an appointment works best to get an account with these people. And I address this because I've heard a number of concerns that people are having a hard time getting through to them or getting an account, but it just takes a little more time. So,
but once you have an account, then you just order. You're not bothered every
right,
time.
Yeah. Right. And to kind of think ahead, and because they do offer a discount and shipping discount with your first order. So just kind of think ahead what you might want to order. And then it explains here where it has to do with the positivity and the negativity
of the ions, the clay as an adsorbent, you mean? Yeah. Oh, did she go out again?
Yes. Yeah. Joseph?
Yes.
This is Sue Massey. I have an account with these people. So if somebody doesn't, if they can't get an account, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to get it for you.
Okay. So Lynn's having trouble in her local area with her
charge of the molecule.
Oh, Lynn, we can't hear you. You're fading out. So,
and
Lynn, can you hear me? Yeah, we can't hear you, Lynn. So we'll have to figure out how to record your overview of this on my recording. But remember that basically what this does is it's an adsorbent. It takes in unwanted materials and holds it in there, and then you flush it out through your bowel. And it is really the loss of cholesterol-2 from standard process was tragic for me. It's tragic. I depended on this product so much for diarrhea, for heavy metal detox, for food poisoning. So you have it. And so the other thing in digestive upset for children is Gastrex. Now they come in capsules, just like the Lactens. So you definitely want to break the capsule open if you can. Just mix it in something. It's very soothing, as well as the Lactens. I tell you, you know how and even children, they'll have a you know, they'll eat some junk food like pizza, Chinese food, then they have the runs the next day, or they have a lot of gas and pain. You give them 6 Lactens, open those 6 capsules. You got to use more than this amount, but this is an acute. It will clear it in an hour or so. Now, we put Zypan in. I don't really recommend Zypan for children under 19, but as you know, teenagers get going and eat a lot of, this is the reason I put it in. They eat a lot of, you know, burgers and hot dogs and just, you know, trashy proteins. This is the best way to break those down quickly. So, and of course, marshmallow root is as soothing as Gastrex. So for sure. And here is Dr. Lee's thoughts on Gastrex as well, and the marshmallow root. One of the final things that I wanted to teach today relates to ear infections themselves. And of course, again, my dosing is not necessarily in the acute phase. Always remember, you can add a midday dose and a before the bed dose for sure, okay? And you can up the dosages of this. With smaller children with Zypan or Calamo, you want to grind those up and mix it in with the food. So because they have hydrochloric acid in them, you don't want children getting it exposed to their teeth, or most children can't swallow. The dosage on this, everyone, is incorrect. So when we put out the notes, I'll make a note to correct that. Ear infections. That's too much Calamo. That was a mistake I did not catch when I did the final review on my book. So it's 1 and 1, and just grind it up, mix it with a little food. But you definitely want to acidify the body. And then this was taught to me by an ear, nose, and throat doctor in Connecticut, in Fairfield, Connecticut. When I lived there with my children on the lake, they had chronic ear infections. And he goes, Joe, I don't want to see you in here anymore. So, this dosing of the alcohol and white vinegar, putting drops in each ear, you know, in the acute phase 2 to 3 times a day, or even just during the week as a maintenance prophylactically, you can just put them in before bed at night or even in the morning. The other one that we grew up with my mother is osha root, and follow the directions on the label. This is so amazing for acute earaches. It is the best. When you use this, if you have children with earaches, you know how uncomfortable they are, but you know how uncomfortable you are because you feel helpless. You want to do something. So what do people run to? The antibiotics, the antibiotic drops. You don't need it. They're in natural substances. But remember, the pathogen is nothing, the terrain. And with this alcohol white vinegar solution in the ear, you're changing the pH of the terrain, and the infection disappears very quickly. So right at the end here is the things that you will find with many children that, as Monica said, they don't think well, they don't do well in school, they don't communicate well, they are too thin, they can't put on weight, and children go through growth cycles throughout their first 19 years for sure, especially. And so these are the products that Dr. Lee recommended for any failure to thrive, anything that is not, that is subdued in any condition, but especially what Dr. Lee called growth factors, the factors that allow growth. Now, Monica beautifully outlined the foods that create that normal growth and integrity of tissues and the flourishing of a human body. But if it's not happening, you must get some pituitary into them, some pituitrophin or paraplex that has pituitary, thyroid, pancreas, and adrenal, which is in the other protocol that I'll show you. So very important. There's your catalin, chondroplex, what we've already reviewed. Now, this is the children's failure to thrive. This is the adult. And the other, if you can get it into the child, though they're big capsules and it just smells terribly, is protofood. And as I've given you the article, and I gave in my book the synopsis of this article from John, I asked John what was the most important product Standard Process made. And this is, he wrote this back to me, which has been used by the reps over the years. This was a communication between John and I early on in my career. Protofol food, we feel, is the most outstanding product we make. That's the question I asked him. I said, John, tell me honestly, what's the best product you make? Now, you could argue or have a conversation. Well, I thought you said it was Catalin. I thought you said it was, well, this was John's thought. Because if you don't have, and this is why I emphasize Biodent or especially Calcifood, if you don't have all 22 amino acids, you will not restore cellular integrity, growth, and longevity. You won't. You have to have all 22 amino acids. Protofood is the 8 essential that is missing in the diet. It's hard to get it into children, but I wanted to teach this to you today. It is the result of many years of research to find the critical elements of deficiency in the average diet, other than vitamins and minerals. People can take 1 capsule a day of protofood without reporting. People can take 1 capsule a day without reporting a phenomenal change in their general state of vigor, alertness, sound sleeping, and stamina. Now, I could go into the amino acids that do provide this for you, but obviously we don't have time today. But I can send you this article where he breaks down and gives you different examples of these essential amino acids. So just shoot me an email. So this is more for adults, but again, you will see that I have pituitrophin in there, again, in the paraplex, just so you know. And of course, Super EFF is this vitamin F factor that we've considered throughout. This is the essence that all of these oils and fats that Monica reviewed with us all break down into this, what this product is made from, which is arachidonic acid. All your oils and fats end up arachidonic acid. Now, your liver converts them in fish oils and in other food substances that you're taking, but if it doesn't, then you don't have the protection for your myelin sheath, and you cannot make hormone. You can't make new hormone without fatty acids. As a child or as an adult, you can't protect your nerve sheath. It must have that fatty membrane around it. And so what Dr. Lee did was said, well, if, you know, these different individuals, MS is a great example. They lose the protective layer around their myelin sheath, around their brain and cord. And so what Dr. Lee did was their spinal cord. I'm sorry, I just had a minute there, second. What Dr. Lee did was said, well, I'll concentrate a substance that's already been converted, and he called it vitamin F2. So you can read about this. This is very essential for a child that is not growing. Again, it comes in a capsule, easy to get into them, has no flavor at all. So then I go in, I told you about the pituitrophin. And we talked earlier about shakes, so I'm not going to go into it. But my word to you today to conclude, if you want to get nutrients into your children, they're finicky eaters. They're not thriving. The way to do it is at the very beginning of their life. When they start food, start them on daily shakes. You'll save yourself a lot of anxiety, a lot of wrestling with the child, mentally and emotionally. Don't make food an issue with your child. Worst thing that could happen. If that happens in the first 7 years, that more than likely they will have food issues for the rest of their life. Make food, the blessing of food, the understanding of food, the wonder of food, the flavor and the joy of eating food, primary in the family element. And so shakes, believe me, been there, done that, bought the book. That's the way to do it. So, and then of course, I'm not going to go through all of this because we're out of time, but what I began with today is I want to finish, and that's with the main trace minerals that tie in with all of the endocrine system. Remember one of the first things that I read to you today was the endocrinologists from all over the world were saying, if you cannot feed the endocrine system, you cannot make a healthy, strong body in a child. This product, along with Catalin, is the product that addresses all 7 endocrine glands. Now, I have a chart on that. You have that chart, or you can get it in any of my lectures on the endocrine system. This is the product that they developed. And they developed this also for children that get fevers, temperatures that go up and down. Undulant fever, it's called. So, and here it is. I probably should have put the slide after this, but here it is, and the protocol for that. So you can go through the rest of these. We've basically addressed all of these already. And yes, the last for these infection processes, fevers, immune support, tonsillitis, is Echinacea. Now, MediHerb used to make an Echinacea without alcohol. It was called Echinacea purpurea. They no longer carry that in the United States. Evidently, it was not selling, but you can still use Echinacea, even daily for a child, a little bit, get them used to, get them fond of using herbs. Make it a wonder that they understand what these concentrates do, because it will stay with them for the rest of their lives. What you teach them teach your children well, feed your children well. In the first 7 years, you will see that it will stand by them their whole lives. They'll remember it. And so, and you can teach cooking classes, take Monica's, and you can give supplement classes to teach parents how to feed their children, nourish their children, and help them throughout their life. And so you can still use Echinacea. I recommend it. I take this in a mixture I call it my winter blend. It's actually my cancer blend, but I don't say that. And I add in burdock and what's the other one? I can't think of the other one, but it's in my book. It's called my winter blend. There's 3 herbs. And so just remember that getting Echinacea into the system every day of a child, they will have a stronger constitution than they would if you weren't giving it to them. So that ends this lecture, and thank you, Monica and Lynn. And Lynn's on the Mediclay. I will make sure she does a little recording at the very end, and we'll add that in. So thank you all very much. We've been 2 hours, so I'm not going to have a question and answer period, but write down your questions and email them to me, or any protocol in the children's section you want me to review, and I will do that. And so blessings to you all. And I look forward to talking with you in a few weeks.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joseph.
Joseph.
You're welcome.